helps me out. It helps me out a lot in life, and it's not just fun, but it's something that gives me passion to do it.
All right, listeners. Once again, how old are you?
13.
So I always, when the young people come on the radio show, I'm always inspired. I'm inspired about what they're talking about. And for someone to be passionate about just anything, to me, means a lot at that young age. There are a lot of adults that are not passionate with the things they do. Their passion comes in complaining. They have more passion and complain about what they don't have and what they need to do, what they should have done, or about others, which takes me back to what we always talk about, Mike. It's about how we have to start listening to our teens and our youth because they have a lot to offer. They're actually, we're gonna call it the calm before the storm. So your kids can be the calm before the storm. If you actually confide in them more, they can actually kind of calm you down. But I'm not gonna get into that.
That's deep.
That's
really deep.
You feel me? Because
yeah.
And when you talk, actually bring the mic to you so you can talk, because I don't want to miss out on all the wisdom that you have to give us. So today's show, Maya, go ahead. Mom, I'll let you take over today. I'm
so
sick and tired. Go ahead, girl.
Today's show is about, Miss Laverne and Phoebe. We brought them in so that we can inspire and talk to you guys about how to cope with divorce. Which is very serious.
It's a very serious topic, and there are a lot of young men and young women out here that are going through it. And let's start out this way. We're gonna start the show this way. We know there are things in life that kids are touched by. We also know that there are a lot of things in life that adults take for granted when their kids are exposed to it. The purpose of this show is for young folks to actually talk about it. And mind you, Mom, she was at a young age when she went through it, but you could actually speak to how it has affected her. And even for her to turn out the way that she is, it's not always a bad thing. But we have to enlighten our adults and our kids to know that you have to attack this just like everything else. We can't just allow people to be in their feelings about going through a major breakup and thinking that there is no recovery, because there is a recovery for it.
Right, I agree with that. Phoebe was actually 2 years old when her dad and I decided to part ways. And it was a hurtful thing for both of us. And I think it didn't dawn on us as much because she was very young, that it would affect her. She just went around thinking, okay, mom lives here and dad lives there. And so as a result, she thought that was the norm. But when she got older is when she saw that, things are not the norm. A mom and dad really should be together for the child. And so, Phoebe, you want to elaborate on when you were 2, what you didn't really feel anything about your mom and dad being apart?
No, as a 2-year-old, I thought it was nothing. I didn't really care about it that much. But when I got older and I realized that most of my best friends, all of my best friends, both of their parents are together, and then that made me sad, but then I had to just talk to someone. I had to talk to my mom about it, and then me and my dad had conversations with me, and what brought me out of the sadness, I went to music, and then I focused on things that were really important to me, and just focused on something that made me happy.
Now, Phoebe, is your dad in your life now?
Yes, he's more active now with me, and I'm glad about that. In the past, it was kind of off to a rough start, but I like that he's more with me now.
Okay. Now, while attending school events, was it difficult for you to see other kids and friends with both parents there, while you had to have, one or the other?
It was difficult, but I wouldn't think about the negative stuff. I would just think positive.
That's good.
Okay.
I
Go ahead,
like.
Mom.
Oh, I was
No,
going
no,
to
go ahead.
say,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
she also had a very good support system. Her godfather, he's deceased now, but he took her to places where the dad may have taken other
Gotcha.
kids.
Yes, ma'am.
And so she relied heavily on my brothers. I have 2 brothers and I have a nephew and nieces as well. So all these people played a role in just making sure she was okay. Now, I myself was not thinking that, how it may affect Phoebe. So I was more concerned. I'm not going to say I wasn't concerned about her, but I think I was trying to get myself together. And so that's where Phoebe would I guess, be more into her music. And she started writing music.
And was she, so Phoebe, if you can speak to it, like I said, I know you were young, but you still, even though it happens when you're young, it still affects you as you get older because you still have to have that conversation. Now, it's a blessing that you still, at this point, do interact with your dad. That's a blessing. There are a lot of young, and we'll shoot it straight, there are a lot of adults that bring the kids into these type of situations, and the adults keep the situation messy. And without realizing that if you keep the situation messy, your child at some point in time are going to grow up and they're also going to be involved in messy situations. And I say that to say we have to, with anything we do in life, we have to have some type of dialogue with one another to make sure that our kids don't get a misunderstanding. And we have to kind of dummy it down. We can talk about it as adults, how we feel about it, but we have to break it down to the kids so not so much that they can understand what's going on, but we need to understand how it's affecting them. And then you can give your feedback to them opposed to overloading their brains with a lot. Because sometimes parents, we often overtalk. We're trying to do too much. So, and oftentimes I think it's best to just let the child speak on how they're feeling. And the situation may not be as bad as you think it is, just based off of the dialogue they're having with you. But we like to talk and just talk and talk and talk. And there the kid is like, okay, that wasn't even what I was thinking about, but now what?
Okay.
You feel me?
Yeah, I do.
So,
Phoebe, you want to elaborate on that?
so basically my question to you is, since you're 13 now, how are you, do you actually have conversation with your other peers about it? Like other kids, do you know other kids that are going through the same type of situation? That are dealing with divorced parents?
No, but sometimes when my best friends go through something that may be close to that, or where their parents may argue or something and then they're scared or they don't know what to do, they ask me for help and I help them out.
Okay, another phenomenal young lady. I'm trying to tell you, our young people are great, man. We don't, and I would say this on not just the Voices of Our Teen show, but even on the Let's Figure It Out show. We need to learn a lot from our youth. I also know, and please call in 800-450-7876, 800-450-7876. This is the type of show, if you guys, it seemed like I'm all over the place with it. It's not so much I'm all over the place. I need people to call in because I can always tell my story, but once again, I don't want this show to be a show of entertainment. I want this show to be a show where people can actually express themselves. So me and Maya don't have Voices of Our Teens just to uplift ourselves. We want to actually help people. And in helping people, we have to hear everybody else's testimonies and their stories so we can begin the conversation to actually help one another. I do interact with a lot of kids, and I know there's a lot of kids going through depression because their mom and dad are not acting like adults in the divorce process. Sometimes dad move on and mom move on, and the kid is kind of stuck on, do I be nice to my dad's new friend? Am I supposed to be nice to my mom's new friend? And those are conversations you have to have, and they have to be children conversations, not from an adult standpoint. You just simply say to the child is, as long as that person, mom or dad friend, is not being disrespectful to you, then by all means you should treat that person with respect.
And then I also think that the parents should also be a good role model and be responsible. Yes, I get that you're going through a hard time, going through a breakup, getting a divorce, and you also have to consider your child's feelings. Some parents might not like the fact that they're getting a divorce, or some parents might be okay with the fact of getting a divorce, but is not okay with the other parent, the co-parent or whatever. They're not okay with that person seeing someone else.
Right. And that the kid and the child, it kind of messes with the child, whether
Yeah.
directly or indirectly. So, and that's, my co-host is so dynamite. I said, hey,
Thank
y'all
you.
know, I be in awe with, I'm just in awe with our youth because I get it. And like, you know, you guys know me, I'll go all over the place because I love the fact that you guys have so much to offer and that at this point in your lives, you guys are so calm with everything. It's just, once again, it takes us adults to elevate where you guys are in a lot of cases in a negative way because we putting too much stress on you. If we as adults can't handle the stress as adults, why should we be putting that stress on you guys as teenagers? So, and the question is, at me as an adult, I want you to give me, Phoebe and Maya, how should I handle? So, okay, I'll share my story. I might as well, okay? So my mom and dad separated when I was my freshman year in college, right? I'm in college, you know, football player, you know, I'm living a college life. And I get a phone call from my mom that my dad, you know, left. I was crushed. Came back home to take care of my mom, be with my mom, because my mom was devastated. So even me, I used that situation to make me a better man. So I said at this point, since my mom is hurt and crushed, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure my mom is proud of me. And that's how I was able to become the man I am today based off of what I went through that ordeal. Now, this is the first time I ever said that publicly to anybody, but hey, sometimes your testimony changes lives. And my point to it is, I get it because I was that kid. I was a teenager, I was older, but it was devastating to me because now I'm like, okay, who do I turn to? You know, am I supposed to not like, you know, my stepmom? Am I supposed to not like, you know, the person my mom's seeing? Well, what am I supposed to do? Because I was brought up to be respectful. But now, by me not being mature enough to understand, all I have on my heart is disrespect because I don't know any better. You feel me? So, Phoebe, do you feel that at all do you feel a certain way now at the age of 13? Do you have any negative feelings about anything as it relates to the divorce process? And you can be honest. If mom allows you to be honest.
I want her to be honest.
Yes, ma'am. Speak to it. Because this actually helped mom as well.
Well, I feel like the older you are when someone is divorcing, it hurts more because you grew up with a bondage with both of your parents together, living together. So it can hurt more. I don't like that they're not together, but you just have to think positive and be around a positive society and positive people, and don't let the negativity get to you because you can't. Because that brings you down when you think negative.
So on this show, we always do what we call it, repeat.
Repeat.
Yeah. So, and we repeat, and I'm gonna help you out. You always have to be around what and who?
Positive people.
This young lady is 13 years old, and she gets that piece of it. That part of life is so important for our youth, and when parents interact with kids, they often say it, but they don't actually lock onto that conversation. You need to be around better friends. You need to be around. Then they end it, but they never go into the depth of the conversation and explain what that means. So now, are you telling me that Tracy or Lisa is not the person I need to be around? So what are you telling me? So in a child's mind, they don't know how to break off or break away from that person. They don't even know what good people are until we actually sit down and have those conversations. So once again, I commend you on even having the wherewithal to even bring that up because that's so large on so many levels, man. So mom, oh Lord, that's another proud parent. Mom and this joint tearing up. Y'all know life is not. Laverne is cool.
She gets it, and
right.
I'm just so happy to hear her say that because positive. If you're around negative people, you're gonna have negative thoughts.
Yep.
And if you're around focused people or people who are thinking positively, then your life is going to zoom on that or
Mhm.
focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just proud of her to hear her say that. And I'm sure her dad is as well, just listening to her, because I know he's on the line listening as well. So
Mhm.
you
And-
make us proud.
And I want to commend you, and thanks for saying that too, Ms. LeBron. I want to commend you too that it's very important that we do things for the better good of our kids. No matter what, we as adults, we can recover from a lot of things, but our kids' minds are not actually equipped to recover from such traumatic situations at this age. And we shouldn't even want them to be in that situation. We should always want to comfort them and just make sure that they're happy and they're living their youthful lives in a youthful way, opposed to being stressed out.
Miss Laverne, once you decided that divorce was your final solution, did you ever consider how that would affect Phoebe, if it would at all?
Not only did I think about it, I prayed to God. I said, God, just allow her to accept the things that we can't change,
Mm-hmm.
and just to build on that without accepting it, because it was there. I mean, some things you can't change. And so she recognized that after asking, why aren't you and Dad getting back together, you know, but it just wasn't going to be. So she accepted it, and we all moved on. And it's her goal for us to be here today to try to help someone else that may be going through something similar. And hopefully something that she says or something that the host will say will help someone to know that it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to move on through that pain.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if you don't, then that's when things fester in your mind and you think negatively. So just very proud of her for doing that.
All right, again, the number is 800-450-7876, 800-450-7876. Like I often say, callers are not just welcome, but we want the callers to call in because we all know someone that's going through, some teenagers that are going through a divorce situation that are not actually taking it very well. I know some teens that when mom and dad split, the child just turned to a totally different kid. And we're talking about like super negative. You know, fussing, cussing, just totally disrespectful. And then you have some young folks that handle it totally different. You know they actually there's some kids that actually brought mom and dad back together. You know, because they really wanted that union to be complete. So and Maya and Phoebe speak to that. And Maya, we both know, you know, your mom, you have great parents. But so also playing over your head, how do you feel that mom and dad actually, because there are kids that are in great families and they don't even think about it, but you have to think about it. You know what I mean? Because everything that goes on in life that has happened to other people, you have to actually think about it because you never know
If it'll happen to you.
Right, you just don't know. So you have to play scenarios, and you play the scenarios over your head as in a way of to prevent that. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
If you like picture in your head that if mom and dad ever split up, I'm gonna be crushed, then you need to do everything in your power to make sure when something's going south, hey, mom and dad, come on. You feel me? And that's what a lot of kids are not in position to do. They don't speak up for their mom and dad because they don't think, once again, what mom and dads always say, stay in a child's place. Right?
I hate that phrase.
You should. It's not it's you know what that phrase is saying? Don't talk too much, you might embarrass me. Don't talk too much, you might call me out. Don't talk too much because you might hold me accountable of something that I don't feel comfortable with being held accountable for. So yeah, I don't like it either. I don't use it. I think it's just wrong. But go ahead, Maya. This is your show. My co-host, my dynamite co. I got young people up in here, y'all. Y'all don't get it. These young folks know what they doing.
If my parents got a divorce, obviously I've never thought about that.
Okay.
But if my parents got a divorce, I pretty sure that my dad would still be supportive and would stay in my life and still help out with things. But if he wasn't, then I would have to, like, I will make sure that my mom is okay, make sure my dad's okay, and make sure that they know that they're still loved.
Yeah.
And yes, they might have gotten a divorce, but they're always gonna like care for each other. They're always still gonna, you know.
But you're blessed too, because Mr. Pinson, he is like a stand-up dude. It's funny that he's like a solid guy. When I first met him, I'm a dude on that spirit. I can feel a person's spirit. And the moment me and him made eye contact when I was in his presence, I was like, okay, yeah. You know what I mean? And he just, I don't know, man. He's just a good dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you're lucky. I mean, y'all lucky to have him. Your mom is lucky to have him as a husband, and you and your sister lucky to have him as a dad.
Thank you.
So, and that's even more reasons why, you know, I'm glad that you are my co-host. I'm glad you, and y'all, Maya actually picked this topic. That shows you how powerful my co-host is, that she's actually aware of what's going on in the world. But you have that voice of encouragement to actually help a lot of young people to either keep their families together or help young people to cope with divorce. So I'm going to commend you.
Thank you.
For doing another fantabulous job. But you all know, at some point in my show, we got to go like deep in. You know, we've been real nice and
cozy,
nice and cozy with it. But we have to get to the real root of the matter is, you know, are adults having kids, you know, in a selfish state? Because it's not a child's fault. It's not a child's fault to endure those type of situations. You know, do we think it out before we, you know, have kids? Do we, you know, when as mom and dad, husband and wife, do we actually sit down and say, hey, what are we doing here? Or do we just let things just kind of linger on, and when it linger on, it gets out of hand, so now we're both stuck to make a decision that we really don't want to make, but we let it go for so long. And Phoebe, I'm gonna let you address it. I'm gonna break it down to you. Break it all the way down to you. So what I'm basically saying to the listeners is, do you think adults should do more prevention before the fact, either counseling or family meetings or saying I love you more or hugging each other more, or opposed to seeing something deteriorate without trying to help it? You got me a little bit?
You should definitely do family counseling and talk to somebody about it, because they can help out a lot.
Exactly. Maya?
Yes, and I also think that also comes along with the maturity level of the parents. If you're going to just sit there and watch your relationship fall out of hand, that if you're just going to sit there and just watch your relationship fall out of hand, I believe that you were never really mature enough and responsible enough and ready to be in the relationship and to start a family.
Hold on. I'm going to invent a repeat button. We're gonna do a bell or repeat button. Okay, this. Okay, ding 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 ding. This is the repeat bell. Repeat that.
If you're going to just sit there and watch your relationship fall out of control, like it's a movie, you were never responsible enough, mature enough, or in the right mindset to have a relationship, a significant other, to start a family. If you're gonna, once you start talking or dating a significant other, you should think about, do you think you will last in the long run?
How old are you?
14.
I love my teenagers, man. Y'all got the game twisted.
And then once marriage comes into the question, you have to do a self-check and ask yourself,
Maya, repeat.
Once marriage comes into the scenario, you have to do a self-check and ask yourself, am I ready to be settled down, to be able to listen respectfully to my significant other's opinions and their perspectives on things? And
I'm about to drop all three. You know we do microphone drops in this joint, right? I'm about to do the 3 microphone drop. This is a 14-year-old young lady. She's doing fantabulous things. Got loving parents that really got her on point. A lot of adults I'm a repetitive type of host. I'm going to repeat things I want people to get. A lot of adults, even this day and time, are not thinking on the level that you just thought on when you delivered what you just said. People are going into things recklessly. Look at my that's my manager. Miss Pinson is my manager. She always got me on point. But that what you said was very powerful. And Miss LeBron, you can chime in. It's like even adults, we just jump into things and we don't even think it out. And not even realizing the ramifications it's going to have on a lot of other people that's following us.
What Maya said is what I was thinking, actually. So, I don't know. I think she's been here before. Actually, if you think about it, divorce is so easy to do now. People are just jumping into marriages, jumping right back out. They're jumping into this fad or whatever is going on in life. Back in the day, you didn't hear about people way back in,
Right.
the 50s and 60s and 70s and the 80s.
30, 40, 50 years.
Divorce. They stayed together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things now where, okay, I'm done.
It's like the blue light sell at Kmart's back in the day. When that blue light came on, if you seen some of that blue light aisle you wanted, you're like, well, the heck with this one. I'm going to go get this sale. We're going to take this for a caller. We have a caller on the line.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling the Voices of Our Youth show, or Voices of Our Teen show. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Phoebe.
Okay.
What advice would you give to children who are 8, 9, 10 years old who's all of a sudden going through this?
You should talk to your parents about it and tell them how you really feel about them.
Okay.
That's powerful. So, and give us, and like the caller is saying, Phoebe, so that's cool, but like I want you to go to the pit of how you feeling, because right now you're speaking from just being on the radio. I want you to really allow God to touch your heart and really speak from a place of you're trying to save someone's life at this moment. Let that be your answer. You like trying to save this person's life. What information would you give this person to save that person's life that's going through this? There you go.
Tell them how you really feel. If you're going through something, just don't think negative. Don't think that you're alone.
Look at God work. Go ahead, girl.
Because you're going to think negative and you don't want the negativity in your head. You should talk to God, pray to God, and
she get me choked up in and I did it for a reason. Phoebe getting me choked up in. I was about to start crying. The piece that we are all missing, and that's why I didn't put her on the spot. But all of us have God in us somewhere. And if you were sitting in this studio to see when I told that young lady to allow God to step in, her whole demeanor changed. It's like she got to the point where she wanted to be correct with her delivery. She knows she's about to save somebody's life. So at that point, it wasn't just I'm in a radio show just speaking. I'm on the spot where I have to change somebody's life. That's the place we have to get to help all our kids. We have to put our kids on God notice. Say, hey, look, before you think, before you speak, just take a minute and to allow God to come into your life. Just for that moment, and magical things happen. And I don't know if it touched you, but when that young lady started talking and then she paused to make sure that what she was saying was correct, that's I can't even, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Y'all talk. Y'all take the show over. Go ahead, Maya.
To build off of what Phoebe said, you should always have strong faith in God, and like she said, never believe that you're alone, because there are a number of people you could talk to. You can turn to God, which should always be your number one choice. You can talk to your parents. You can approach your parents and say, hey, what's going on? and to let them know how you feel about the situation. And then parents, I also believe that you should sit your kid down and explain to them what's happening, get their opinion, point of views, perspectives on what's happening. And you shouldn't just say, Dre, your mom's leaving, or Olivia, your dad and I are getting a divorce. You shouldn't just come out straight and say it. You should sit them down, explain to them the thought of what you want and what the significant other wants, and get the child's perspective and opinion on it. Because maybe their opinion, their opinion and what they say can also affect what your answer can be. And sometimes people might have such strong emotions that the first thing they want to do is just back out of it, when they really can step back, look at what their argument's about, use it as a life lesson, and build a stronger relationship. But because some people just want to just hop out the pool, they will miss out on life lessons and will get in the habit of just quitting.
My youth, I love my youth. I'm gonna give you, Miss Denise. I'm gonna give you the adult spin on it.
Okay.
I'm sitting here with two powerful young ladies and a dynamic mom. I truly believe nothing supersedes love and hugging and just say, hey, no matter what, you're gonna be okay. If those things are repetitive, when we have dialogue with our kids, everything can start with a hug. Because with a hug, so much love and energy and spirituality, you just name it, goes into that hug. Because a hug can be a paragraph in some instances without even speaking. Sometimes you don't even have to speak. Has someone ever held you for a long time, like for past 5 seconds, and once that hug you was released, you was like, wait a minute. You see where I'm going with it? So in a lot of cases, I would suggest to just hug the child, and often just let the child express to you how they're feeling, not just about the divorce situation, but just about life in itself, because you need to also be checking to see where their mind is through the whole ordeal. Okay? You got Ms. Lorraine, you want to say something?
Yes. Also, sometimes, I'm just going to come out and say it, sometimes children aren't able to approach the parent because the parents are too consumed
Facts.
on themselves or the relationship that they're about to get out of. If there's a grandma or a nana that's there, that would be the person that you would go to. I know Phoebe has done that when me and her dad were at it. I'm not saying physical, but we were at it, and I just was not focused on that. She would go to her nana.
Go to someone that you really trust in.
Just speaking to the mic, Phoebe, do it one more time.
Say it again.
You go to someone that you really trust and believe in.
Okay.
So in this case, it was her grandma. Or if you don't have, that, maybe it might be an older brother or somebody that's not in the house or a counselor at school or something.
Right. Let me jump in there too, because y'all know I'm old. I forget my thoughts. And this picking back off what you guys are saying. So, Ms. Denise, what you can actually do is you can actually ask the child who is it that they feel comfortable in talking to about the situation, because you may not be the person they want to talk to. And you'll be surprised, kids have people that they idolize and they look up to that you don't even realize they do. So that's another thing that I often tell adults. Ask your child who do they respect and who do they don't mind confiding their, personal business to. And you'll be surprised who that person may be. And it may be the same person that you're actually keeping away from that child. And that's, in a lot of cases too, that's why these kids act out sometimes, because they want to respect you, but you are indirectly keeping a person that they really look up to away from them, and they don't understand why. That's another thing too. We have to start explaining to our young adults why we do some of the things that we do to protect them, opposed to saying, hey, don't worry about it, just know that I have your best interest. Well, an adult can't even tell you that. Two adults can say, hey, well, don't worry about it, I got your back. Well, what do you mean you got my back? Maybe I don't want you to have my back. Or you might be having my back in a negative way, So these are the things that we have to actually have with our teens as well as our adults.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. I hope that helped.
Yeah, and, God is going to bless those two young ladies, Phoebe and Mike.
Mike, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
ma'am. Again, the number is 800-450-7876, 800-450-7876. We're talking about youth and teens coping with divorce. We've covered a lot, and I always like touching on the spiritual peace component, because a lot of people don't know that's a go-to tool that we all have, no matter what you believe in, no matter who you believe, what you follow. The moment of silence, I know a lot of people do it when there's something negative that takes place. Well, real talk, a moment of silence can be done even when you're living right, when your life is in a good place, because now it allows you to take a moment and pause and say, hey, what'd you say earlier? Let me self-check myself. Let me do a reevaluation of myself. And this is some of the things we can do every day before we actually step into society. Before you leave out your house, you can just pause, get it all together, and then walk out. And you know what I do? Always, when I leave the house, I be like, God, please give me the strength and please open up my eyes to any negativity that may come upon me before I walk into these streets.
That's deep.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And once these are little go-to things that a lot of us, that's why we have a radio show, Maya. That's why we do what we do, because we want to arm people with all types of ammunition and tools and intellect so they can have better lives. And that's our job. That's our purpose. You up for the challenge?
Yes.
I can tell because you's a sharp shooter. We're gonna wow. Whenever we had these type of shows, the time just be flying. So Phoebe, I'm gonna ask you this. And I often say, if you had a magic wand, and it doesn't even have to be about divorce. If you had a magic wand and you wanted to do something to help our young community, what would you do? Talk to the mic for me, dear.
I would use it on that's a good question.
That's why I asked it, girl. There's no wrong answer.
To show more love and less hate.
See that? That's powerful. What about you, Maya?
Me? Oh. If I had a magic wand, I would use it so that everybody can have more common sense, be more considerate of others, and respect others, and respect yourself. Because I believe that consideration and respect, whether it's with yourself or others, that can get you far in life. And yes, everybody isn't going to be considerate with you all the time, but just remain patient and remain respectful so you don't just jump out and attack them.
Right.
Like, remain patient and respectful with them, and things will eventually go your way.
Yeah, the key word in that is, and thank you both for those comments, the key word in that is respect. Respect should be at the forefront of everything that we do, because if you respect thyself first, then that would encourage you to respect others. And respect is another word of saying, I'm not here to hurt anyone else. That's all respect is. Respect is, and people use the word respect almost as if it's an action word, like you about to fight somebody. No, respect is, treat people right. And that's what we need to teach our kids. I have asked adults in the past, what do you say to your child to tell them what respect means? And, they get on the defensive about it. Well, no, respect is not a word for you to get on the defense about. The respect is a true word that we need to implement so that our kids can be on the right path. And it comes from caring about yourself, caring about one another. And first of all, the entire world would be a better place if we all respect ourselves first and then care about how we affect others. You ain't got to like the person, but the inner you should care about how you treat other people. And every day will be a different day. It'll be less hatred. It'll be a lot more love. The common sense piece will be like on blast, because respect does actually bring common sense, because now you're thinking before you act. And that's all we have to do as a people. People always try to say, well, I don't know what to do with my child. I know everybody in this whole thing about they don't know what to do. They don't know what their next move is. Well, your first move is respect. Your next move is understanding the fact that just as you deserve respect, the next person does too. And it doesn't make a difference how old a kid is, how old an adult is. If a child is able to articulate and talk, then at that point of that child's life, you as an adult should give that kid respect. Y'all know I can talk. I'm a radio show host. I can go on and on. So y'all go ahead and chime in. What you want to leave the people with, Maya?
I think that, like I said earlier, consideration and respect, and then also make sure you think and always self-check. Make sure that you're not just doing something just for the heck of it. Some people want to, like the show's about divorce, some people might want to just get married so you can show off the ring, have a fabulous wedding, be the center of attention, and they're not mature enough.
Preach.
They're not mature enough to be in a stable relationship and to start a family, because a marriage should be long term. They're just looking for something that will give them attention.
And what about the people that just go with the marriage just because? There are people that's, they done got the wedding dressed and send out the invitations and all this, and in the back of their mind, it's like, man, I should not marry this person. But we didn't send out all the invitations to places. Who cares? Because not only are you affecting your lives, you're respecting the mom, the dad, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, the co-workers, because you're going to be a bitter person in that marriage. And that's another thing. People just jump into things without realizing who it's going to affect. It don't just stop with you. Now you're gonna start cheating. It's gonna be infidelity in the marriage. That somebody ain't gonna cook clean. It's just so much come out of what we're saying. The whole self-check. Self-check yourself before you do. Think things out before you do something. And if you start doing that, no matter how you do something, somebody's gonna get hurt. So before hurting a whole bunch of other people that's involved, deal with your hurt first so it don't affect other people. And I know it's hard for people to receive that, but we live in a reckless society where we just do whatever for our own comfortability without thinking about everybody else. And I think it's just wrong. And that's why we are what we are, because people are selfish, man. There's a lot of selfish people. And what I don't like the most about society is that they're super selfish to our kids, our youth. And I'm talking about 25 and under. The world is super selfish when it comes to you guys. They can cover it up and sugarcoat it and say what they want to say, but this is facts. Y'all are not being treated fair. From your president to how the colleges are, how, all the colleges are super expensive. Just the things that y'all should have access to, people are blocking y'all from having access to it. And then they feeding y'all brains with this rap music, these messed up TV shows, these clothes, the cost of tennis shoes, the body piercing, the tattoos and all this. It's corrupting a lot of kids. Yeah, that's a whole nother show. Y'all know me, I'll talk. Go ahead, Maya, take over the show. I'm checking out, Maya. You take it over.
Yeah, so like I said, consideration and respect and self-check. I believe that can get you far because, and also common sense. Common sense, it'll get you far because you'll know not to run around with a knife in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Respect, yes, everybody wants to be respected. But in order for someone to respect you, you have to respect them. If I walk up to somebody and I can see that they don't really respect me, I'm trying to voice my opinions to them, and they're obviously neglecting it, disregarding it, not paying attention to me, that's going to give off a vibe like, oh, they don't really respect me, so I don't really know if I want to be around them.
Right.
That leads back to what Phoebe said. Surround yourself with positive people and only think positive thoughts. Once you feel yourself being negative or thinking of negative, turn to God.
Mm-hmm.
God can give you the light to lead you out of the darkest paths.
I got not only is Maya, she's an actress. She got her books out, 4.9 student. I'm her big brother. I love it. Yeah, I'm playing. But those are valid points. And the reason why I like you guys to talk as much as you're talking, because this show becomes a platform to allow youth to express themselves. When I set out on this venture to have my own radio show, this show was supposed to be just for youth only. And I'm geared to that. Now, I do other topics throughout, but I'm actually building this show so that every Sunday will be just about our youth. That's my goal, and I believe that's what God put on my heart to do, and that's what I'm going to do, because you guys have so much to offer. And it's not so much just about, young people just talking, just to be talking. You guys have a lot of wisdom, because believe it or not, while a lot of the adults are just going on about their business, you guys are like sponges. You're actually receiving it, getting it, trying to decipher what is going on. And that's where the confusion coming in, because your minds are not really prepared to take on all the stuff you guys are taking on. And I just wish society would just stop and realize what they're doing around our kids. Just take a break and realize that we are wrong. And then they want to talk about Miss Betty's child. They want to talk about how Melvin wasn't a good father to little Troy. Let's stop that. We got to stop talking about who's not a good parent. Who's a bad person. When we all are creating these people, we are actually creating these adults to be bad adults. How often do you sit down and talk to that adult that's doing wrong by that child and really have a heart-to-heart and see why that person is even acting that way? And they don't stop because nobody's showing them love. So they was like, well, why in the hell should I show anybody else love? You're not showing me love, because they don't know any better. And we all say if people know better, they'll do better. But you can't do better if you don't know better. And I feel bad for the people that know better, that can help a person to be better, that are too selfish to even step up and say something. And it starts with a hug. Just hug a person. I done hugged a crackhead before, and the crackhead cried. And I'll go back and see that same, and that crackhead is now no longer on that corner. This is a true story. The young lady was working at Walmart. It don't take a lot, but we're so afraid of not showing who we really are, opposed to helping and loving other people. I tell you, I'll talk, girl. Y'all go ahead. Take the mic, Maya. Take the mic, because your brother I would get it to be a testimony, it'd be a church service in the joint. We got 5, my man.
Also, just want to remind everybody to follow us on Instagram at Voices of Our Teens.
That's right. We got Instagram pages and stuff now. We going up. Yeah. Them t-shirts coming out too. Yeah. All right.
Right.
The Instagram page is called Voices of Our Teens. And also, I just want to wish my grandfather a happy birthday.
What? We could have sung this happy birthday, Grandpa.
Happy birthday.
Right. We should have hit the Stevie Wonder jump for him. Now y'all can't sing. Y'all be this jump.
How you know we can't sing?
Wait a minute. All right. But so and once again, you got me again. But that whole grandparents, that's another thing too. Stop neglecting our grandparents. We are neglecting the people that have all the wisdom, all the direction. They're like on their last days, and they want to just give us everything that they have, but we won't call them, we won't go visit them, we won't tell them we love them, we won't hug them. It's just wrong. And think about it. The young people are getting mistreated. The seniors are getting mistreated. And everybody in between is living selfishly and recklessly and messy. The middle piece is messy. It's like a whole bunch of mess going on. And everybody pointing fingers, but ain't nobody trying to help each other. But yet our young kids are suffering because they're trying to learn. Our older people are suffering because they're trying to give back. I just summed life up in just that segment alone. Get out of your own way. Start helping people more. Start expressing love more. Go to the people that you know need your time and attention. Give positive advice to the young people that you know need your time and attention and positive advice. That becomes the solution to break the cycles of what we've all came through. From the slavery to the white supremacy. And we all control that. I'm going to be real quick. There was a young lady that I overheard prior to coming to this show about the colleges. All our top black athletes go to all these D1 colleges, and these people are making millions of dollars. But yet, all our HBCUs are suffering, trying to stay open. If these same athletes go to these HBCUs and give our HBCUs money, the pros will still come sought after them. They'll still make it to the pros. But these are the things that we're not teaching one another. We're getting caught up on these dreams of trying to be better than the next person instead of trying everybody to come up together. Maya, close the show. We're gonna do something different. Maya, you close the show out. I'm about to get upset. You're not getting angry every so often. But go ahead.
Yes, that falls under being considerate. You should help out. If you're good, you're gonna bring scouts in regardless of where you
No
are.
matter where you in school at.
So it really shouldn't matter if you're trying to go to this top prestigious college
Right.
to get attention from scouts. If you're good, you're gonna get a scout if you're going to a community college.
Right. But it's also big. It's about generating the black dollar. It's about
Yeah.
generating money so that our people, and I'll say it. It's a public. I can say it. Our people don't just mean a color. Our people mean minorities. Whether you white, Spanish, black, whatever. It's our people because our people are struggling. So we need to put in place things to help our people to become better people. And we have the means to do it, but we're all being so misinformed on so many things. Once again, that word I'm going to use, we run around this joint acting reckless, we're acting selfish, and because we only worrying about ourselves. There's a lot of people that I done helped in the past that are doing well. You think I can call them and ask them for $5? They look at me like I'm crazy. But once again, God didn't put me on earth to reap benefits from me helping people. My calling is to help, so I will continue to help. But once again, people have to stop coming from a selfish place and start living, what's it called, selflessness?
Selfless.
Yeah, that word. Yeah, that's the word I was going with. Yeah. So, Stan, what we looking like, Stan? Stan got, is that the peace sign? Stan said we're number one, man. Yeah, my engineer said we're number one. But, so, Laverne, Miss Laverne, Miss Phoebe, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real talk. And it takes a lot for our young people to step up and talk. And I thank you, man. And I'm going to leave my listeners with this. This world is a mess. But if we all try to do our best to make it better, at least we'll be that closer to become before God and have our face smiling and, a good life ahead of us. They ain't come off real clear, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. You feel me?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks again for listening to the Voices of Our Youth. Oh, correction.
Teens.
Voices of our teens.
That's my co-host, Miss Maya J. Pinson. Girl, one day I'm going to introduce you to a show or something. I'm going to put all that in, all that body language. Again, thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Love you guys.
Happy Saturday.
Thank you.
It's a wrap, y'all. Once again, Voices of Our Teens, myself, Miss Maya J. We got Miss Phoebe in the house. Hey, Miss Phoebe. Miss Laverne came through. I appreciate you guys. It was a very serious topic.
Yes.
And we're going to continue to have these topics. Actually, we coming back next week with a, we're going to call it, I'm going to call it emotional. Well, I don't call it emotional, but it's going to be a God-felt show. I want the teens to call in and kind of give us a testimony about where they are in life, and just reaching out. I want them to reach out for prayer from the masses. So we can actually center around teens in need of prayer. Teens in need of prayer. Teens in need of prayer. Yeah. And I'm gonna have a pastor in here. We're gonna kind of we're gonna have the teens call in and just express how they feel.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds like a good show. All right, y'all. Hey, thanks for tuning in Facebook. You guys know I love you. See you next week.
Follow us on Instagram at Voices of Our Teens.
Voices of Our Teens. Yeah, Voices of Our Teens. They boot. Boot. T-shirts coming to you soon. All right, y'all.